This video is brought to you by Slate Black Industries. For grips and accessories, visit slateblackindustries.com.
So the Iraq version versus the Irene Chad. Gordon's carbine. The real one with a 14.5-inch barrel, just like they had it in CAG. So, are you ready?
So what you're telling me is that the old Gordon carbine video that you did, you lied. You lied.
We were limited by the technology of our time. That's what it happened. All right.
150, sir. 150.
So I'm running a 250 yard, 200 meter-ish zero.
Okay.
So at 150, I'm just going to hold it slightly at the belly. Ready?
Yes, sir. I'm there. Impact. Center. Impact. All right, I'm on at 200. We got some very weird wind today. It's like left to right, then directly behind us, then a little right to left splashed in there, so...
I mean, it's not super strong, and the problem is it just keeps on shifting directions.
Inconsistent, you know?
Yep.
Ooh, that was at the very bottom edge of the plate.
Okay.
I would hold... Impact.
Just checking. Just checking. We good.
All right. That second impact was also low of center, as an FYI.
Okay.
But it was more like, you know, center cluster.
All right, just low of center. So maybe I start holding upper chest now.
Okay, I'm on at 250. Impact. Nice.
So
Second impact was just right of center.
okay. So it's left and right. Got
Yeah,
it.
I mean, it was like left quarter, right quarter, you know?
So one other thing that we did not have in the original one was the lovely aim. Well, this is the 3000, not the 5000, but similar from that era with a similar diode technology. And huge thanks to our friend out in Sweden, Magnus, who sent this over to us because it was his late grandfather's that he used to hunt with.
Oh, wow.
In Sweden. So very cool, and honestly, that says a lot about our little community that we've built. One thing, however, I've noticed about the older aim points, the new aim points, when you start twisting the dial, it goes from low setting to high. This goes from high setting all the way to the lowest setting. So the old school way, you get that first click, and immediately you switch it on in an emergency situation, which I actually think that makes more sense, does it? Does it to you, Josh?
I could see why, yeah. All right, I'm on at 300. Dude, I don't know.
It's okay. It was a hit, though.
Okay, all right, I see it. It was that was a miss high at the head. Impact, chest.
Okay, I came down back low a little bit.
Sorry, that first one, the wind had my spotting equipment jiggling.
All good, dude, all good.
All right, I'm over to 350. Miss off the left edge.
Okay.
Just slightly low. Impact. Impact.
Awesome. Yeah, so this dot, I don't know the exact MOA size. It must be like a 4 or 6 MOA dot too. So the dot is covering the entire target is what I'm saying. That's not a complaint. I think it's interesting how Aimpoint has developed in that aspect.
All right, we're on at 400.
All right, 400. I am going to maintain a head hold.
Impact bottom right quadrant, come up. Impact. All right, I'm on at 450.
All right. I am just going to... I'm not going to play with wind too much.
Yeah, I'd say let's just leave it.
I want to make sure my elevation's good, so I'm going to do a base hold on this one.
Yep. Okay, round came in to the left of the target at the head level. That's an impact in the left shoulder. I think that was short bottom right edge. Impact chest, upper
Nice.
chest.
Okay.
That was like right around where the pin was, I think. Okay, I'm honestly, I don't see any splash marks from that round, Henry, so like I'm questioning myself on it, but I saw dust.
I heard it though.
Yeah, okay, good. As long as you're confident with it, I am too. I saw paint
Well,
splat.
look, we'll come back to see where the red dot is.
Okay, cool.
So we're gonna he's not going anywhere right now. We'll come back to him. Don't worry about
I'm on at 5. Impact. Okay, just short. That first impact was low quadrant. Second one just came in just short. Just short again. Well, that was in Narnia. Like multiple targets in both directions. Just short again, just short. Shoulder height off the left edge. Short by about half a target on the left edge. Short bottom left corner. About one target to the left. There it is.
Finally,
It was
you
right
hear it.
up at the pin on the upper chest.
Yeah, that was a small target, my friend.
Yeah, well, your first one was a hit, and it was like right on the bottom edge, and then all the rest of them were coming in like
I think
just short, you know.
What I was trying to like continue to gauge where I was holding upper low. But still, I mean, when I look at this, I think XM4 with way more capabilities added to it.
Oh yeah, it's sick.
I mean, basically.
Hey, get back on the gun.
All
You
right.
made the people a promise.
All right. So we are cooking at 3,000 feet per second, by the way.
Nice.
So 3,050 feet per second. I mean, averaging at 3,010 for the last couple shots.
Dude, that's a spicy boy right there. Well, that's what, M193, right?
Yeah, this is M193.
All right, let's try the 450 with the dot. And see
450
what you
with
can
a dot. You ready?
Yeah. Okay, that was at the head level, about one target to the right. I think that came in quite a bit short. Elevation. Okay, there's the elevation. That was just off the left edge. Impact bottom left quadrant.
Nice.
I was still setting up your camera.
Oh,
at
I'm
5.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Just short. Perfect perfect windage. Just short. Come up half target. Bottom left. Just skimmed by bottom left. Yeah, dead center, baby.
Nice.
The people are going to say, but Henry, if you just used the red dot the whole time, you would have done better.
Honestly, I probably would have on this one, right?
A few moments later.
Ready?
Yeah.
So one of the cool things that we did not test last time, or did not demonstrate, this actually has a DD 14.5 Cold Hammer Forge barrel in it. Meaning, I can run 77s. Like,
Oh, it's a
unlike
1 in
the
7
previous.
twist instead of a 1 in 9.
That's right. It's a 1.7 twist. It's basically the same M4 profile barrel as what you would see on an M4. So it gives me a lot more flexibility, and I am running 77s. We could start at, what do you say, like the 500 maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's a 500 with the red dot or irons. We're already starting to stretch.
I mean, okay, so the red dot is actually... Iron's actually a little easier to use today because of the contrast out there. It's like high noon, you know?
Mm-hmm. Impact, upper chest, right at the
Oh, of course.
neckline.
Okay, all done. Video done, yeah? See if we can do it again.
That went over his head. Okay, that was a splash off the left. That's an impact.
Nice. Ah, I hear it too.
All right, so those are pretty good. I mean, again, it's not like you're hitting it every single shot. It's a
Right.
reduced size target with irons.
So the interesting thing is, I fully thought that I was going to use a red dot to try to hit that target, but the red dot's actually fairly difficult to see. Let me see if I could do it with a red dot even. You want to even give it a try?
I mean, I moved the camera. You want me to go back?
Yeah, I just want to see where the red dot would even be.
Yes, helping Henry get on by holding a red dot in Narnia. That was short by at least a full target right edge. Just underneath him, come up half a target. That was on the left side. Just short, underneath him again. That was at the head level, splash left by about a quarter target.
Alright, this is actually more difficult with a red dot. Unlike last time, it was easier with a red dot. So the red dot, these older aim points, I'm seeing a lot of blue hue to it. And it actually makes it more difficult to see the contrast to the back of... to the target and its background. Why don't I bump back to irons and try to... What's the target behind it, Josh?
The one behind it is around 625-ish.
You want to try that, maybe?
Okay, just short at the left legs of the target. Just over the top, good windage. I would re-engage. Don't change anything else. Just underneath, good windage. Just short again, good windage. These are like, you know, half target short, half target high. That's an impact.
Alright, so, you guys saw it here. Gordon Carbine 625?
So at least, yeah.
625 with 77s, using technology that was not available to Master Sergeant Gary Gordon. Is this practical? No, it is not. But is it fun? For me it is. For Josh it is straight torture. And that's what I like to do on the show. We'll see you guys at the debrief.
Just hold your red dot in space above your target. Where were you having to hold with the dot?
It was
at
not
500?
bad. It was not bad. It was only stacked one target above 500.
Nice.
And I was hitting.
Which is wild, because when you start talking about, again, within context for people, when we do this with like 11 halves, 10 halves that we've done recently with red dots and magnifiers that we've been working on
It's
our
a double
own,
decker bus.
you're like out in Narniaville,
Yeah.
which is wild. So again, that extra barrel makes such a difference in your ability to collect the hits, not just because the round is moving, basically moving faster, but because your holds are all so much more consistent.
Yeah. We're able to accommodate the 14.5-inch true barrel length because of the AEM4 barrel that Allen Engineering had actually recently started
Can
releasing
or
again.
barrel? Or
Sorry?
you said barrel. Can you?
No, can. The
Okay, yeah,
AEM4
yeah.
can. And what the AEM4 does, it sleeves over a naked barrel. And unfortunately, this is still a freaking two-stamp rifle because I can't pin and weld a device in the front. So it is a 14.5-inch barrel underneath the AEM4. And the AEM4 is actually the M24 length suppressor, meaning you've got also more can volume. So I've been actually trying this, and I actually shot it with no ear pro on before. And now my ears are a little bit less. The VA has determined that I have tinnitus.
Have you guys heard Henry yelling into a mic before?
Excuse me, I'm very sorry. But I don't have like I can actually still hear after I shoot this with no ear pro on. Not advocating for you to do that.
Quick length comparison here. Quick length comparison.
So what's that one?
This is 16.
Okay.
16 no can, just to show people the length comparison.
So
16 no can.
here, I can open it up to where yours is. I mean, it's the same length.
Yeah, the stock is quite a bit shorter.
Oh, there, fully extended.
It's still so close. You can see it's still so close.
It's just, I mean, it is, however, front heavier than an M4. However, you can see the balance point is right here. Still very manageable. The M4's balance point would be closer to right here where the magazine is. But talk about a classic. Here, reject modernity, embrace tradition, my friend. But I mean, talk about an old classic that we've brought up and then gotten. Like every step of this journey with the Gordon carbine has really just impressed me on these guys using 90's tech and being able to punch way past what you would have thought this system could do. Now, mind you, this is the era of M16A2s had freshly gotten issued to the Rangers. Like, that was a fresh thing, the M16A2. And that is like, what, 3 generations behind us now?
Yeah, we're very old, Henry. We're old men. You have gray hair, so do I.
So, I could go on and on and on and on about
Let's
this.
take it over to the debrief, dude.
We'll see you guys there. Oh, well, hello there. I didn't see you. You must have stumbled upon me enjoying the sunshine of the day as I was bird watching with my M24 sniper weapon system. Now, I hope you're enjoying the content thus far, because content like this is made possible not only by Slate Black Industries, but by the patrons of Patreon. Well, that's true. They are our main support, financially, intellectually, and most importantly, emotionally. They make content like this possible. And I'd like to invite you to come along and become one of the patrons of Patreon, along our journey of exploration of firearms technology and what we can do with these weapon systems. And if not, it's okay. But that's enough with this. Let's get on with the show.
Welcome into the debrief. We had the regular run. We had the bonus second run. Just short again. Henry scoring impacts out to 625 with the Gordon. Very nice, very nice. Now, Henry, first and foremost, straight away here, why are we doing the Gordon again? We had a good run with the Gordon before. What is different?
Frankly, the previous Gordon was not correct to what it actually was. Form-wise, it looked correct, but it was running a 12.5 barrel. Specifically, that was to accommodate a Mark 12 AEM5 suppressor, whereas now we have on here the Allen Engineering M4. I'll dip this underneath real quick to do this, and then this is what's underneath. You will see that it is a 1/7 twist Daniel Defense M4 barrel, and the bolt carrier group is also updated to a Daniel Defense to match it. Now, we have talked at length at the development of the M4 carbine. In fact, we have the Block 1, Block 2, and URGI, the 3 iterations of the carbine that came after the Gordon. But before the Gordon, or before the M4, this style of carbine, on top of that, the XM4 that we shot, those are kind of the grandfathers to the M4 carbine. What we know as the 14.5, and in civilian world, the 16-inch carbine rifles. The general purpose rifle for many people out there. Before that, this was a concept that Delta had championed, specifically using the Aimpoint 3000, and thanks to our friend Mangus out there in Sweden, this was his grandfather's, so it was a genuine artifact from an old timer, and living on one of our samples to talk about the development of Aimpoints, and then redoing the light to a handier, in my opinion, a handier way than having the light clipped onto the side of the rail using duct tape to tape it on, using an actual Surefire type mount. 14.5-inch barrel, Allen Engineering M4 can, and what we end up with is a highly effective system. But as we've seen, with some restrictions is not the right case, some limitations, specifically with sighting system at distance. And Josh, this is your point of roasting me for the limitations of the iron sight.
Well, I know on the actual day, you decided that you were going to try your secret Henry Sauce technique of having the iron zeroed at 400 and dipping down into the irons when holding the dot in space somewhere high above the target was less than advantageous. And it worked at 450, but then you really started to struggle with it at 5. Mm-hmm. And, so an interesting development there, given you actually had a better run with it, I think. Did you actually have a better run with it the last time out? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt like it was actually better the first time we ever did it, right?
If you factor in that I didn't mess up the first time and I messed up this time, then yes, I had a better run with it last time. But the theory of employment here that I had was 0 to 3, I'll use the red dot, and then anything past 400 meters, I start using iron sights to clear. Because iron sights to me it's easier to get a high contrast sighting system onto a target at distance. However, I mean, the idea is both of them are non-magnified anyways, so I may as well get something that I could pick up a contrast with a background a lot better. However, the key point to this is the operator needs to be on point when firing the weapon system. But we did go back and shoot it with red dots and showed that it could clear with a red dot at that distance. And on top of that, we shot it with 77s that did not exist during the employment of this by CAG, and showed that 77s were actually highly effective to pushing it even farther beyond the distance that we had with 55s. So I've given Josh's question some more thought on whether I would employ the red dot iron sight combination more. And I think yes. So part of it, obviously, there is an operator question. Did I mess up? The other part is the fact that these two do complement each other fairly well. When it's too bright and the red dot is getting washed out, too easy to jump down and just use your iron sights under those bright conditions. On the flip side, if it's very dim, low light situations, obviously your red dot is going to be much easier to use in a CQB scenario. So when you're considering, let's say like a 0 to 400 fighting rifle scenario for a rifle that was put together in the 80s and the 90s, this was a very lethal combination, and I still think so. And I still think the iron sight red dot combination is a good compromise in order to put this in a usable state in a lot of different scenarios. But anyways, back to the video. But that said, I mean, I think the potential of the system is obviously there. It's a 14.5 carbine, and I would further say, because at this point this has been a built system for a little bit, and I've had Josh fire it quite a bit outside of the long distance course. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts when you were firing this thing?
Well, you did the secret sauce, right? Internally, if I'm not mistaken, you have it sprung and buffered for suppressed use.
First impressions.
Dude, this is like a sleeper build. This thing looks old school, but it is gassed really smooth. We're at like 30 yards here, and I'm basically just running it as fast as I can run. I dropped, what, 1 or 2? Rain splattering across my lenses. Doesn't matter. Can't stop the Gordon. Right?
Yes.
So you're not using an adjustable gas block, obviously, but you are basically springing the gun for suppressed use. So unlike a normal suppressed AR, where it's on the punchier side when you add that additional back pressure with the suppressor, this rifle felt really, really nice. It was really, really gassed. It felt like it was gassed as an unsuppressed AR, but with the weight of the suppressor out front, meaning that it basically deletes the recoil.
Yeah.
So it was a very shootable experience, very easy to run, and shooting it with the dot up close. It's also very handy. It's a very lightweight system in comparison to the more modern stuff that we're using now, where you've got, heavier rails and all the enablers bolted onto this stuff. Like, this was actually quite light, so it's very handy, quick moving, and the recoil is, in this particular configuration, as you have it done, very nice.
Well, I mean, I'll throw it back to, like, a lot of us, the first impression that this struck on us was from Black Hawk Down, right? But the movie did a really good job in contrasting between the Delta operators and the Rangers. Like, you saw the Rangers were all running M16s, M16A2s, and that was new for them back then. Remember, the M16 was a new system for them in the early 90s, in 1990, 91. And so Delta was running the carbines, and they were running around basically using it as later on we would learn to use it in the Global War on Terror with the M4 Block 1s with M68 CCOs. And in this particular case, in the movie, it was used by Gary Gordon, who was a helicopter sniper at that point, next to Shugart, who was using the red dot on M14. Now, the interesting thing with shooting from helicopters, you're shooting at a very high angle, so your bullet drop is drastically different. So you're not going to experience the same type of drop-off as we do at the 500-yard course, because you're shooting at a high angle. But your leads are also completely different, because then you're like leading a target from behind to compensate for the helicopter's speed. So I think a lot of times the movie Black Hawk Down is interesting enough. It kind of typecasts this as a specific role in the helicopter role, but in reality, this was actually used in a pretty general purpose setting. For that particular setting, the helicopter snipers had it. But later on, even during the Gulf War, you'll see Delta operators walking around with Schwarzkopf. And in the very back, you'll actually see one of these bad boys lurking about. And so it's a fairly widely used system. Yes, you could take the suppressor off and shoot it unsuppressed. And in fact, even with it sprung this way, Josh, I can still take the suppressor off and shoot it unsuppressed, and it would still function just fine. But reliability-wise, it's probably on the edge of that reliability. You probably do want a little bit of back pressure on it. But a lot of times, from what I read, this particular loadout was really treated as almost like the suppressor was semi-permanent on it. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't something that you would detach in the field and throw a flash hider in the front and just roll with it. Like, this was expected to be somewhat permanent. But on that note, this is one of the quietest setups that I have for a 5.56. And I thought the AEM-5 was pretty quiet, and this is even more quiet than the AEM-5. But at the same time, I mean, when we're shooting it this day, I don't think we were really measuring it for that.
So what about the suppressor itself is different between the AEM-5 Mark 12 suppressor and this one, the M4 suppressor? So I know that the attachment collar is visibly different, right? There is a rear attachment collar that is visibly different.
This one also takes a significant amount of the barrel underneath to accommodate that longer barrel. And in fact, we've been actually experimenting with this to see if we could bring out other historical builds, and we did a Vietnam era M16A1 recon sniper build, and that is to accommodate that little bit in the front. Because remember, the reason the 14.5 is 14.5 is because this distance outside of gassing is really nice. It is perfect for putting a bayonet on. So this is a standard distance between this and the long rifles. So you can use this on the long rifle as well. With that added distance, you also have more volume to the actual system, which is why when you fire it, it sounds different. This is larger than Josh's 308 cans, just as a comparison. So you have a massive amount of volume in order to do the same type of suppression, and that's why the sound is very different. It's one of those cans that, I would not recommend firing it with no ear protection all the time, but you can fire it with no ear protection without it ringing right away.
Impact.
Now,
Center.
dump a mag in, you'll still hear it. But, for like 5-10 rounds, you'll
that was at the very
be
bottom edge of the
relatively better compared to like a SOCOM. But still, I think the one thing though, compared to the AEM
Nice.
5, because the AEM 5, so Otter Creek makes a copy, the OCM 5, which is completely titanium. When you put that one on this style of carbine, you could definitely feel it's like much lighter in the front. With the extra steel and the extra stuff in the front, this is definitely heavier than the AEM 5. Even like, it's not debilitatingly heavy, but the balance is still right around here, right around the front handguard, whereas normal AR-15s are like closer to the magwell. And I would say the AEM 5 is closer to the magwell than it is in the front. So your balance is going to be slightly off because of the extra mass in the front. But still, those are like the pick and chooses you would go to get a longer barrel. And this is something that I've wanted to do because our original video, like, remember, there's not a lot that we could like attribute to say like we were kind of like first into stuff, but we were one of the first ones to delve into the Gordon back in the day. And while I love that video, I love what we got to do with it, I love the story that we got to tell, it wasn't the true loadout. It wasn't the true system. So especially on the distance course and stuff like that, we weren't able to see the true story. It wasn't using a 1.7 twist barrel. It wasn't the full 14.5 inch. The suppressor was slightly different. We got a taste of it, but it certainly wasn't it wasn't the same. And then on top of that, the sight, because we were using the newer one, the M2, the Comp M2, it was clearer than the older aimpoint 3000s. One thing I learned about the aimpoint 3000s, I think it's polarized. I think the lens is polarized. So whenever I look through it, if I'm wearing sunglasses that are polarized, it turns into a black screen.
Interesting.
Not my favorite. But yeah, like historical stuff is, I understand why they would try to do that, but it's a little bit annoying whenever I have to check myself whenever I throw polarized sunglasses on and I look through it. It turns into a black screen.
So with talking about the sighting system, and almost your commentary there sounds like you basically said that we limited ourselves. We actually took capability away with the sighting system we're running this time from the previous. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think is the most illuminating from these runs is the impact the sighting system can have. And obviously we, and I include myself in this, we are spoiled by getting to watch you shoot irons because you are quite good at doing it. And I think it gives a lot of people some misperceptions on the effectiveness of irons in certain circumstances. When we contrast
this actual base rifle, like the guts, the DD 14.5-inch barrel, so on and so forth, and we put that up against any other of the modern ARs that we're shooting, knowing that this barrel is a modern barrel, right? It's not as if it's a modern production barrel.
Yeah.
This rifle is capable to shoot like any of the number of ARs that we've shot on the course, which means that shooting 77s, you could probably clear the course with 1-2 misses on average, going out, sighting system dependent. Now, we shot it with 55s on the first day, but even when you went back and we shot it with the 77s, it wasn't as if it was like insta first round impacts at 500, right? Like there was some work, and at 625, there was some work you had to put into getting those hits. And so, again, I think this illuminates sort of the advantage that we see when we run something like the Block 2, which the Block 2 is a great example. Like legitimately, this probably the same DD barrel, right? That's like in this gun is in that gun. And so when you see those things put up against one another, where you basically have a run that you just absolutely smoke the course, and see where the divergence happens, you basically cleared through 450 with this without too many issues, but once you sort of hit 5 and beyond, it started to become tougher.
It was the last one. It was the last shot. I was unable to make adjustments to it, right?
Impact.
Yes, but in general, when you're adding, you made a comment on course, right? You said, man, that's a small target, right? When you were looking down, right? And it is. It's a it's a vital zone target, right? Basically at 500, or slightly larger than vital zone, but definitely sub torso. And I think that's where you start to see the divergence between having like really nice new modern optical systems that allow you to really refine your point of aim and have a reference point that's really easily utilized. And it shows. Like we have the Block 2, the URGI. Those are some runs where with 77s, you basically clear this stuff out to 800. The MR556 is another example, right? I know that's a little bit different, but any of the modern stuff, the BCM rifle, any of this stuff, you're clearing these things as with like no issue whatsoever.
All right, I'm there. Send it.
Like, yes, I get it. Free float, not free float, but like the amount of difference there is pretty marginal on when it comes down to what we're actually seeing in a very controlled environment that we're testing this in. And the major divergence is the optical system.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides of this. The one side is Camp Iron Sight is just as good. I am not in that camp despite what people think. I am not delusional. Iron sights are a lot of fun to shoot. I love shooting iron sights. And iron sights can hit at longer distances. Of course they can. But if the operator messes up, and you have more of a chance of the operator messing up with iron sights, or I would even go off on a limb and say pure red dot with no magnification assist.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the firing, it's about seeing where you hit as a shooter. Especially if you have no spotter, seeing where you hit and then being able to correlate the next shot to put it back on target. That makes it a lot more difficult for the shooter. And you have to be on point. And a lot of times, if it's a fighting rifle for someone who is in combat, that may not be an opportunity that's afforded to you. On the other hand, there's Camp Optic. Where iron sights suck. Iron sights cannot do anything. I also don't think that is entirely true. When this thing was conceived, everybody and their mother was running iron sights. That was the standard. And clearly you can shoot well with iron sights at distance.
Yes.
I think the truth kind of lies somewhere in between. Right, understanding that there is advancement in technology. When this thing was employed, aim points were fresh on the market. This was new technology. There were no LPVOs. The typical reticle, mil-dot reticles were advanced. The SVD, the Dragunov reticle was advanced.
Why is there casually a Dragunov reticle next to you, Henry?
I'm working on the Dragunov. Right? But duplex was 3 to 9 duplex was the optic of the era. And that would be inappropriate to put onto something like this if you wanted to use it the way the Delta operators were using it for. So the way this was kit out was highly advanced for its era. Now, it still bleeds into current era, and you can still use it for current applications if you must. But to be blind to current development in optical technology, in reticle technology, I mean, that's just being delusional. But then at the same time,
then just throw out there the added element here that while a red dot gun can be shot to extended distances, is it like optimal to hit at those distances with? Like, no, probably not. Target size dependent, but no, probably not.
So, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like nowadays we've been developing more and more stuff that where you can like have your cake and eat it too. A little piggyback RMR on top is having your cake and eating it too. You have a magnified optic, whether it's an ACOG, an LCAN, an LPVO, whatever you want, or even an actual magnified, you know, like 3 to 18, or even for bolt actions, 5 to 25s. Having that little red dot on there, like, that's being able to have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to choose between this or an actual sniper rifle. So, I mean, that's a lot of the current development comes down to being able to give you options to pick and choose. And being blind to that is a bit delusional. But at the same time, saying that the previous solutions are irrelevant is also incorrect, I would say, because there are far more iron sight rifles around the world than there are red dotted sight. Now, that's changing through the, like, as every day passes by, that's changing. But to say that the world is no longer has iron sight rifles is going to be wrong for a few decades, in my opinion. So I also think having a certain degree of proficiency on iron sights, if this is something that's important to you, or you are in a position to where you come across firearms and need to use it proficiently, I mean, that's potentially a skill that you would want to have. Maybe not to the sense that you need to shoot 500, 600, 700 yard targets with iron sights, but, you know, just a 200-300 meter torso size, being able to use iron sights is a good life skill, if weapons fit into your life. So I think, you know, like, people like to be extreme on things. But, I mean, like, as far as this goes, I think to veer back to this, you know, with our conversation, I think the way these Gordon carbines, or the XM4 that we reviewed in the past, Delta carbines, it's a nice cross-section into that conversation, you know, like where technology has developed. Because the 80s and the 90s really, then bridging into the GWAT era, really had a lot of, that was kind of that divide into using optics versus using irons. Prior to that, the Cold War weapons you'll see that were developed even up to like the early 90s, like the British L96A1, the Green Meanie, the predecessor to the Arctic Warfare, the AI, that came with iron sights on a sniper rifle. So iron sights were still very much relevant when this thing was employed. So I think that draws a really interesting conversation to sighting solution, and contrasting what we saw on this run to some of the previous runs is really interesting to see the effectiveness that you could gain from modern sighting solutions, but still the effectiveness that retains from older sighting solutions in the field. And knowing the limitations is going to keep you guys in the know, and being in the know is always good to have in the back of your mind, good intel and stuff that can keep you informed for fun events.
All right, gang. For those of you who stuck around to the end, we certainly appreciate it. Do all the good YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Hop over and let Henry know in the comments. Iron sights, obsolete. Iron sights, the best. Which camp are you in? We'll see you guys over in the Patreon and the Discord as well. And until next time, we'll see you on the range.
This is Steel 96, 4 Vic, 8 packs, Redcon 1, green to green. How copy, over?
Steel 96, this is 716, roger, over. 1 Steel 91, 1